Hello, and welcome to September 3rd, 2017. Alright, so, as you can see, I've got a basket of clean laundry over there. Good for me, right? Still haven't put it up. Start a new job today. But, all of that is beside the point. The point of today's vlog is to talk a little bit about what it's like to be on board a Reptilian spacecraft. Alright? Now, just a little bit of an introduction. Reptilians are, obviously rumored extraterrestrial species, and some people, they are purported to be extra dimensional as well, meaning that they could literally touch anything from our perception and literally just completely obliterate our perception of reality. I mean, literally like us to an ant. Okay, they're like we are this much more powerful than an ant. Now take that and like square it. That like power difference between us and an ant, and that would be what reptilians their power level is purported to be. So being on board a reptilian's ship isn't the most oh comforting thoughts for a human being or most Earth dwellers, but I want to share what it is like. Now, I can only share what it is like being a prisoner on board a reptilian ship. Um, there, I personally I haven't seen um, any parts of like their bridge or anywhere else, any of their medical bays, but um, I can say that being a prisoner on board a reptilian ship, and by prisoner I mean they keep you essentially as a pet. Um, they have nothing to study, nothing to learn about us, so they keep you as a pet. Some of them are purportedly sadistic and will abduct humans for experiments. They aren't really experiments, they just want to probe you. They're just sadistic if they do that. They already know everything about us. There's nothing to experiment on anymore. So they're like kids, child reptilians doing science experiments for fun. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about what it is like to actually be taken prisoner on board a reptilian ship. And one thing I can say is that it is very, very clean, um, very sterile. So, and it doesn't have that awful hospital smell either. It just kind of smells like, I think they use some sort of field to induce a comforting smell for prisoners to give them a more calming state to make the whole, any kind of communication with the prisoners or pets to be as smooth as possible. Kind of like how we give, our cats and dogs treats. They give us pleasant smells, pleasant environment, a clean environment, because that's what we prefer. That's what puts our minds at ease. So essentially, there are no cells, there are no cages, but um, pets, prisoners, humans aboard these ships are fitted with electrodes in just about all over our body, in our hands, in our necks, in our skulls, throughout our torso, abdomen, thorax, in our legs, everywhere. Um, and there are fields, and there aren't cells, but there are these little alcoves. So there are these little, I don't know if it was stainless steel, it looked like alabaster. It could have been like medical grade painted steel, but they they are these little alcoves that go in, and there's essentially like an electric fence that will cause the electrodes to heat up. Now, before you even get to the electric fence part, if you try to get out of your little alcove, Which, by the way, all the alcoves are in a circular room, all facing one another. So all the humans can converse, all the prisoner pets can converse. There's a button within each alcove, which is essentially a cell. But you do have quite a bit of freedom in there. You can get food whenever you want. You can pretty much have whatever you want other than leaving and other than communicating with your reptilian captors, which I will still tell a story about a man who did press the button. Now, there is an emergency button which does give a direct line to the reptilian, to an actual reptilian humanoid extraterrestrial that is on board the ship, and would actually be pretty high up, be in contact with the crew, the pilot's crew of the ship. So, now this emergency button is only if one of us suffers from a heart attack, or suffers from sickness, or suffers from something of the like, an emergency, a medical emergency, that it would be detected by their scans and by their fields, but this is it's another layer of security. It's just to make sure, because they do not have instant teleportation. They have a lot of illusions and things like that that will mimic teleportation, but they do not have teleportation, and they will not be able to be there in time to save a person. In case someone has a stroke or cardiac arrest or something like that. We want. So he hit the emergency button, and they spoke to him, and there's no questions. The one rule is that you never ask any reptilian humanoid questions. This is how I found out the hard way, to make sure I listen to them. I would have not asked questions because of the fear anyway. It's just when someone who essentially can phase in and out of visibility, who you watch just murder someone and then clone their DNA and then recreate that person, just as a show of power. Just to say we can do this. You don't want to ask them any more questions when you know that they don't want to be asked questions. So I saw the man. He did it just as a kind of a prank. But when he did it, there was no answer, and there is a little tiny tic-tac box-shaped hole in the back of every alcove, and it is a vacuum. I didn't know what it was. It's just a little slot. Anyway, there was a vacuuming sound, and from across the room, actually from just not all the way across, but pretty close to across the room, I watched this man Jonas be sucked in to a tic-tac-sized hole. I watched as his bones seamlessly just kind of crumpled up, like as if you were just like crumpling up paper and shoving it through a hole, or shoving it into like a vacuum tube. If you take like a piece of paper, like this piece of paper, and you put it in there, it's not going to go in right away. But if you crumple it as you go, it's going to get sucked in, and that's what happened to his whole body. There was no remains left behind. His whole body crumpled and got sucked into a tic-tac-sized hole. So, that's what it's like, being on board, being a prisoner. It's not, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. You definitely realize kind of a little bit more of your place in the universe, as this happens. Now, it's definitely, to be able to interact. I never actually saw a reptilian, never actually saw any beings. Definitely saw that their communications technology is very, very, very powerful. And by communications, I mean anything that, sight, sound, touch, anything that, if, like right now, you watching this video, You know, this is communications technology because you're watching it. Not because I'm transmitting it to you, but because you're watching it, if that makes sense. Very, very powerful sort of smoke and mirrors like tricks to appear in many different forms to people. Um, I just wanted to share that. Um, anyway, yep, down to 10 minutes, so I hope you made it this far. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like it, feel free to comment and hit the like button, subscribe for more, and any feedback is welcomed. Have a great day.